Hello flower friends, it is time once again for another garden update. So we are just coming into the month of March and we have had the most ridiculous kind of mini heat wave coming through right now, which is not seasonable for this area. We've been in the upper 80s, almost 90s in some cases, which again is not normal. We should actually be down around the 70s, 60s, 70s right now. So the plants and transplants and things that are currently living outside are absolutely loving it, as I will show you in just a quick little tour around. But unfortunately, I do have to keep an eye. A lot of those are cool flowers, and so they may not take too kindly to that super hot streak of warm temps. The other thing I am slightly dreading is that I do have a market actually tomorrow, and again it's going to be really hot, like in the almost to the 90s, where I'm going over towards Tucson, and so I have not really worked in those conditions for a while, so I'm definitely going to have to try to acclimate to it and see if I can indeed handle it. Thankfully, they are very kind to me and usually put me under a nice shaded spot so that I can sell flowers and things, so I'm very greatly appreciative of that. With that, I want to talk to you about what's been going on in here. And so with those temps kind of climbing this week temporarily, as we have a massive high pressure system underneath of us down in Mexico that it just keeps kind of turning around. What that means is that it makes it also kind of hard to manage temperatures inside my very old home. So essentially what I have to do is I have to kind of rethink strategically. So as you can see, my very, very back shelves back there are not currently being utilized. Again, that's my overflow space where I like to move things. I've actually started to move things either outside to start to harden them off. Things like my snapdragons that we propagated have all been moved outside. A lot of them are looking great. I will show you pictures of everything, though. There were a few that didn't look super great, so I don't know if they're going to pull through. But I did definitely have some successes out of those that we worked on in one of my previous videos. What I have done, a big change here, is my Lisianthus. So my Lisianthus trays at one point in time pretty much had their own dedicated shelves to themselves. What I noticed is that I have two different types of grow lights going on right here. I have, as you can see, these white ones behind me. I bought these on clearance at Lowe's a couple years ago for like 20 bucks. But I think the reason they were so cheap is because they were moving them out due to some issues. What the problem with those specific lights is that they have no cooling system on them. Like, they have no internal fan that kind of keeps them cool. So I definitely had to keep an eye out on those. But what they do is they release a lot of heat on the top of them, as where my other ones that I have, which actually produce the most noise, is because they actually have fans built inside to keep the LEDs cool on those. And so what happens is anything that is kind of placed above that shelf of those white ones, they get kind of like a heat mat effect. So it kind of warms them up from the bottom. But what I've noticed with my Lisianthus is that I have to be really careful at the stage that they are in now, because they are starting to produce some leaves, but they are now super prone to rosetting. And so what I want to do is to make certain that their temps are not going up substantially in order to cause them rosetting. Rosetting is a condition which a lot of folks are actually they're trying to grow that trait out of Lisianthus. They're not quite there yet. Lisianthus are very particular for temperature fluctuations. If they have something that is either too hot, too cold, too wet, too dry, past the kind of seedling stage when you're getting closer towards transplanting, what that can do is cause them to rosette. Rosette is essentially where the flower stem does not want to grow up vertically. It just kind of clusters together at the bottom, which means very short stems that just really aren't usable for flower farming. For most part, your flower farmers and commercial producers want those nice long stems of Lisianthus to use in bouquets and other type of arrangements. I do have a few that I'm not really certain on if they are doing okay at this point. I have to tell you, if you go out and Google Lisianthus rosetting, you get like the worst pictures in the world. And like, I look at it and I can't tell any difference between those that look like they're on the verge of rosetting versus the ones that are. So I think at this point it's just going to be trial and error. I'm just going to have to suffer through the entire process and hope that, you know, I'm successful with what I've done. So what I've done again is I've moved these onto a different shelf and I've turned the grow light beneath it off. That way it kind of gives it a little bit more cooling effect as we're going through these really hot temps this week in order to keep everything standard. My hope is once that high pressure system is out of here that I can finally get those guys outside to start hardening off and then eventually get them potted up into my grow bags and get them placed out for the season. Everything else is actually doing extremely well this year. I've been really conscious about my watering and making certain I'm not overwatering. And so I think I'm reaping the benefits of that. I have a lot of great looking seedlings that I definitely will take you around and show you what's going on. Started up some cosmos. They went pretty crazy and they're still going. I have mixed success with growing cosmos inside as transplants. In fact, I actually planted a bunch outside with seedlings along with my transplants because I had a little bit of a difficulty last year in getting any of my cosmos to establish outside for some reason, even though once they did, they were great and they grew and they went crazy and they were perfect. But for some reason it was such a struggle, and this year they just look so leggy to me, but maybe that's just how they are. The other thing I'm excited about is that going up into this weekend, we are actually on the verge of getting ready to start the zinnias, which I'm so excited about. So those will go into one of my 72 count trays, and all the different varieties will go in there, and then I transplant those out. I do not direct seed, especially this year. I'm not direct seeding since I have a lot of those designer varieties. I want to make certain that I get germination and nothing comes through and kills those off, because those will be like very precious for the amount of money that I've put in to those specifically. And then the next things that will be going actually out will be the sunflowers, and so I'm excited for those as well. That means that it's the kickoff kind of the summer season coming in, and so I take a risk out here since I have a much milder climate, and I actually start my sunflowers out way early. As I mentioned, the temps out here have not been normal by any means this season. It's been extremely hot, which has actually caused a lot of concerns for people who live here. With it being so mild and extremely warm this season, a lot of us have pretty much just said, well, screw the last frost, so we're just going to go ahead and get started. And I think honestly that's what's going to happen, especially with this high pressure system coming through right now. This is the beginning week of March, and our technical last frost date here has actually switched from last year, but we're now at the end of March for our start of our planting season for last frost date. I got a lot I gotta get started this weekend, but I'm really excited. On top of all of this, I'm sure I'll show you, but we are also moving the silage tarp over to another portion of the yard that has plenty of time to kind of sit out there and establish onto that one part where we were having a lot of issue with a lot of weeds and things. So we're going to take that. Paul, my husband, has able to acquire a ton of cardboard for me, so we're actually going to layer that down on top of that just as a secondary fail-safe for a lot of those really pesky weeds and annoying things like the goat heads and the random mesquites that pop up and the mallow and all of that fun annoying stuff. And then from there we will toss on new dirt or soil on top of that, and then any additional amendments. So we've got to get the beds ready. As you'll see in this tour, I got plants that are raring to go and ready to get out, especially after this next hot streak that we are going through. They are most definitely going to be on the verge of wanting to start growing quickly and starting to get ready to produce those flowers. And so let's take you along and we can take a look and see what is growing on.
Starting off on our top shelf, we have all of that gomphrena and basil just kind of slowly making its way to be big enough to start repotting and transplanting out. There's my jewels of opar, and again, just more gomphrena. On the other side there again, this is continuing my gomphrena and also my basil. Over here I've started some cosmos, and I've always had such mixed results with these guys. So to me they look a little leggy, but you know, we're gonna give it a go and see if they make it. This large tray is full of straw flowers of different varieties. As you can see, some were older seeds and didn't germinate well, some have actually germinated very well. This is one of my spare basil that was hanging out. And then finally all of the lisianthus that was repotted up into larger pots to give it some room to grow. Again, I have no idea if these are rosetting or not. If there's anybody that's an expert, maybe you can give me a heads up, but otherwise we're just going to fill it through this season and just see what we can make work with the lisianthus. Going outside now, I still have plenty of different things in my wildflower bed that are coming up. I actually spotted some zinnias peeking their head through there, as well as I had some transplanted firmament out there too. So lots of fun stuff going on in this bed, and most of these are just completely overwintered. Moving on to the front beds, I have some larkspur that's still attempting to try to come through up here, as well as a lot of other things I've transplanted out, like bee balm. Here you will see all of the snapdragons. They're getting so big and ready to be planted out, so we're definitely making way for them. Here's some of the verbena that I still have going on that'll be ready to be transplanted out soon. And then in the main bed itself, I actually still have a lot of bee balm that's slowly kind of maturing and rooting itself. Here's some Shasta daisies. And again, more and more snapdragons. These are some of those volunteer Rudbeckia plants that I found and will be transplanted out. There's one echinacea there. These are the propagated snapdragons, so the ones we took the cuttings from. So you'll see some of these look okay, some don't look so great. Yeah, as you can see there, I had an accident, left some of these guys out in that heat, and it just completely decimated a few of them. So something kind of funny is that my snapdragon bed from the previous season is starting to come back in full force. Unfortunately, we will be getting rid of all those, and they'll be in a completely different spot this year, but it was just so funny to see them blooming. One of the other things we did this weekend is we started taking care of the area that we placed that silage tarp on, so we moved it off of there just to see what had been done. Looks like it did take care of a lot of the pesky Bermuda grass and a couple weeds we had growing under there. And so what we're going to do from here is we're going to actually start laying down a layer of cardboard onto there. We water the cardboard down to kind of keep it moist and from moving around, and then after that we will then start to establish our rows with our mulch and then also our soil that we're going to be bringing in. So again, this is all mostly just a weed deterrent at this point. So we were able to take that silage tarp, move it over to a completely different spot in the yard, and on the right you can see all of that new soil and dirt that we were able to place down for the season. And Paul is just placing these pallets on here just to make certain that the silage tarp doesn't get blown away in our windy season.
So my flower friends, that's all I have for you on this video. I do appreciate you for watching. Take care. I'll see you next time.